So, welcome everybody to a very special press conference here at the Gran Premio Griffin di San Marino della Riviera di Rimini to talk about the results of the largest ever MotoGP Global Fan Survey. And with us today we have Chief Sporting Officer representing Dorna, Carlos Ezpeleta. We have President of Motorsport Network, James Allen. And we have the Managing Director of Nielsen Sports International, Marco Nazzari. Welcome, all of you. Thank you very much. Some very exciting insights into the sport after a huge amount of responses from fans around the world. And Carlos, I believe you will give us the introduction as we look through the findings, or the key findings from the survey.
Thank you, Fran, and thank you all for joining us. Good morning to all. We're very excited to be here to announce the results of a very exciting project for us. I think these are exciting times for the championship. With the recent announcements of changes to the schedule for a sport that's already incredible with great racing. And we think that when times are changing, as they are, it's very important to keep our fans at the center and to listen to them and to be able to monitor the changes and their opinions about the championship. So from MotoGP, we've always tried to listen to our audience very carefully and how we can continue to improve the sport together. And the way to do this is undoubtedly with the best partners that there are in the sector, both Motorsport and Nielsen. So we're very thankful for their time. We're very excited to have such a big-scale survey to our fans and through our most important networks. So I don't want to give any spoilers. It was definitely the response we're very proud to have. We really definitely have to thank our fans for devoting so much time. The total hours that all our fans dedicated to filling out the survey is incredible. And we have already a huge number of fans in a global scale, which we're very proud of. And the only spoiler that I'll give before James and Marco go in is that we had the results show 92% of the fans consider them avid followers of the sport, which is the highest recorded in surveys of this sort. So I'll just hand over to them, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here. And as you say, the response has been fantastic, over 109,000 responses from 179 countries. You referenced the amount of time that was devoted. I think it's over 27,000 hours that fans gave of their time. For all of us in life, time is our most valuable commodity, so that is a tremendous commitment on their side. Marco and I are going to walk you through some of the details from this largest ever MotoGP survey. There's plenty more detail in the actual report itself, which I'm sure you've been given. If you haven't been given it already, you will be very, very shortly, so it'll be interesting to take the time. Just from our point of view, this is the third large survey we've done in the last 12 months, following on from Formula One and IndyCar. And after a long experience in this sport, and quite a few of my old friends I've been covering the sport with over the years are in this room, I think what it shows is that elite level motorsport is actually in really good health. However, it also shows that there is a clear pathway for growing the sport and addressing new audiences, particularly in the places where they are. What you're going to see in the next half hour or so is a story which is very much about a growing female interest in this sport, growing interest in the under-24s, and the way to reach them is very clear, which is with the new digital and social platforms. And I think there's an awful lot still to come and a lot of growth potential in this sport. So I'll hand over to Marco. He can tell you a little bit about the audience.
Yeah, thank you, James, and thank you, Carlos. It was great. This is the largest ever MotoGP and motorcycling survey. So first I have to say thank you to Dorna for the trust, and thank you for the support, the technical support, and all the support from Motorsport Network. We performed 110,000 interviews, sorry, that is a large number, absolutely. And we found very interesting result, right? For instance, the average age of the fan, 36 years, is quite nice to have. I would tell you that most of the sport properties would like, especially in football, would like to have a 36-year-old fan, especially because 45% of them were under 35, so really young fan. A decent amount of female fans, considering that we are talking about motorsport. So 56% of female fans are between 16 and 34. Again, young and avid fan, as we said. 80% follow more than follow all the race, and 80% are following the MotoGP from more than 6 years. A lot of countries represented with the peculiarity. The most present country, if I remember well, are Italy, Spain, no surprise, but also UK, France, and US. That is quite an important market, in my opinion, for motorsport for the future. James, back to you for the next slide, I believe, where we talk about...
on the brand values.
Yes.
And the audience around the world, I mentioned we surveyed in 179 countries. We also did it across our platforms in 14 languages. So we had a very, a very robust response in all, and we'll come on a little bit to talk about that. Brand health, what do we mean by brand health? It means, what do people think about the health of the sport that they're consuming? This is fans, remember, who are giving their view. So on the left-hand side, the attributes. These are kind of a bunch of adjectives that the fans give us to describe the sport. And we've seen quite a few in the previous surveys with other series, some sort of negative connotations coming in here. Really, as far as this is concerned, the top 6 attributes in this survey are that fans think that MotoGP is above all competitive. That's the standout adjective that they would use to describe it. Exciting, entertaining, world class is interesting. That word, that expression coming so high in the rankings, I think is very, very interesting indeed when you consider this as a global fan survey. Unpredictable, of course, and technological as well. So I guess as a set of adjectives to describe the series, that would be, as a start point for how you develop the sport from here. You'd be very happy with those. As a former journalist, of course, I go straight to the negative here, which is the one on the right, which is that 66% of fans say that MotoGP must do more to attract new fans. And that's particularly strong amongst the under-24s and amongst the female audience. And interestingly, 56% of the total female audience is in the younger age demographic, as we mentioned earlier on. The rest of the slides more or less speak for themselves, it's about the best riders riding the world's fastest bikes. That's what this sport is really all about, and that's what the fans want it to be.
Yeah, let us have a look now at the media landscape and how the fan consume MotoGP. So, not unsurprisingly, TV is still the most used platform to follow, to watch, especially the entire race. But taking into account that 60% of the fans are anyway following MotoGP on mobile, so it's a percentage that is growing. Most of the fans we have interviewed have seen more than 15 races, so they are really avid fans. And the younger, no surprise, they are following mainly on social media and YouTube. If I remember well, it's 70% of them follow on social media. The very interesting factor of the young guys is they also use a lot the MotoGP official channel. So 40% of them have said that they are using a MotoGP channel in order to follow MotoGP. So it's a promising number of young people who are basically using your channel. And that means that you are successful in creating content and distributing them, right? Other than that, outside of the race weekend, they mainly use a couple of main media to get informed. One is the Motorsport website, where most of you guys work probably, and the other one is the social media platform that dominate what we call the outside race weekend. James, back to you for the next...
So one of the things we always look at in these global fan surveys is races, race attendance, and which races are popular with fans, and that's what this slide is talking all about. Most interesting of all for me, and probably one of the most interesting data points of the whole survey, is the one on the left. Over 40% of the fans we've surveyed here, and it's a very significant number of people around the world, have visited a race in the last 5 years. That's double the equivalent data point in Formula One. So it says a lot about how accessible this sport is and how the desire of the fans to actually get to see the action live. And 23% of them have actually travelled abroad to watch a race. That obviously escalates a lot amongst the higher age groups who are more affluent, but still a very significant number. And what is interesting also is that 48% of the female fans have attended a Grand Prix in the last 5 years. Again, another positive and encouraging data point for the future. In terms of popularity, the Dutch TT in Assen is the most attended race. And actually, when you get deep into the data, the Dutch fans actually are the ones who enjoy the travelling the most. They're on the road, follow. I don't know if you feel that, but they certainly, the data shows it. And Mugello, Misano, and Catalonia are obviously popular races to attend. In terms of the significance, the importance of the races, you know, which races they feel have to be on the calendar if you want. Mugello comes out as #1, ahead of Assen, Phillip Island, and Jerez. And I think this is one of the data points, Carlos, that in a few years' time when we return to this, it'll be interesting to see how the race popularity is evolving, whether they're still the same ones or whether that's evolved as well. Another very interesting data point here is that 74% of the fans believe the calendar should have more than 19 races on it. 52% favour a 19 to a 21 race calendar, but 74 is a healthy number, wanting to have that many races on the calendar. And where would they like to see races in the future? Well, those were the 3 main countries that came through: a race in Belgium, a race in Brazil, and a race in South Africa. Marco.
Yeah, thank you. Let us talk about teams and riders. I will talk about teams and you will talk about riders, James. So the top 4 voted teams, well, it's not a surprise. Monster Energy, Yamaha, and Ducati Lenovo quite close between them. Then Repsol, Honda, and Aprilia. So basically, Monster Energy, Yamaha was ranked first in France, Indonesia, Japan, and India, and is also first between the female fan. Ducati is the most popular in Italy, naturally, and in Australia. And Repsol Honda was voted by 14% of the voters as #1. And Aprilia is growing and enjoying a widespread support with 40% of fans placing them at the top 3. So not a surprising ranking, I would say. I see the history, I see the performance, and I see the newcomer all together in a close fight to be the first. And then we talk about riders, right, James?
Yeah, so this is obviously always going to be a big talking point across the weekend when we announce who's the most popular driver or rider. In this case, rider, it's Fabio Quartararo, ahead of Marc Marquez, with Francesco Bagnaia in 3rd place, Jack Miller and Aleix Espargaro. You can see some of the breakdown there in terms of the areas, the demographics, the regions that they were popular with. So that obviously is a self-explanatory talking point, but behind that is another interesting point, which is in comparison with other elite motorsport series, MotoGP is actually more of a sport-first series than some of the other series. What do I mean by that? I mean that 75% of the fans support more than one rider. So in other words, what brings the fans to sport isn't specifically the one rider. In this survey, that's the data we get. It's people, they follow a number of different riders. However, amongst, again, coming back to that younger demographic and that female fan demographic, they do have a tendency more to support one particular rider.
Yeah, this is definitely my favorite slide and one of the most important for the future, right? I mean, future sporting changes. Everyone in sport and motorsport is trying to change something to attract more fun, to make the show more appealing. So we ask a bunch of questions to our fans. So what do they support? They support sustainability, no surprise. Everyone wants to support sustainability. Sport cannot skip sustainability for the future, even motorsport, particularly motorsport, I would say. Balance of performance, the show, the possibility to see a great show is something that people want to see, and want to see even by raising the performance of less performing manufacturer, let me say, and then boosting a rider's profile. We need heroes in this sport, and we want to see heroes in this sport, right? There are some other things that they don't support, like qualifying points for qualifying section, qualifying sprint race to set the grid for the GP, shorter GP race. You see that 70% of them are happy with the rate length that is basically in line with what we see now. And then there are areas where they are not completely sure, like regulation to improve overtaking or point for fastest lap. I don't know, Carlos, if you want to say 2 words about this. This is quite an important part for you, right?
Yes, definitely an area which we're very interested in having the results in, the sporting format of the championship. It's clear, as you're saying, that it's important to us that our fans agree with us that the move to sustainable fuels is needed and important. We also asked our fans a clearer question about balance of performance directed at the concessions that manufacturers have been given in the past years to make the sport more competitive, and they were in huge agreement that that's helped the sport. And then towards the more recent and more important changes of the championship, which will come next year, we thought that it was very important that for fan understanding, especially new fans, that the format of all races throughout the calendar remains the same. And it was Dorna's opinion, even before the survey, that the sprint race should not set the grid order for Sunday. And that's the fans have agreed with us, so we're also happy to have their acceptation of that. And we also believe that there should be no points for qualifying sessions. So very happy with the results, and we'll be able to monitor the change of the format and the fans' response to that in the next surveys.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they will appreciate that, and I tell you, fans in general, they love to be interviewed on these type of things because they feel like they are part of the game, right? They can help creating the game, so this is absolutely an important part. So if we go to the next slide,
you're absolutely right. A huge part of this is for the fans to feel that their voices are being heard.
Yeah.
I should just point out also that the actual survey itself, the template for it, is broadly the same across the different series. We just obviously tailor it depending on whether we're talking about Formula 1 or IndyCar or MotoGP, and obviously working on that to make sure it's relevant to the series. But it follows broadly the same template. And this is the final slide. Again, something that we always like to look at, obviously from a sponsorship point of view. Does sponsorship make sense in terms of fans believing or thinking more highly of companies that sponsor the championship? Yes, they do. The actual specifics on that are in the report. And then the other piece is esports, a huge, fast-growing part of this sport. And in my opinion, along with the digital and social media and other platforms like that, this is one of the big gateways for new fans to come into the sport. 41% of the total fan base is gaming at least once a month. But when you actually get into the younger age groups, that number jumps to well over 66% who identify as active gamers. And again, that's something very similar to what we saw in Formula 1. And it's a tremendous gateway for attracting new fans to the sport. Mobile gaming is more popular amongst the female fans, and esports participation is definitely growing, and it's highest in Europe at 55%, followed by Asia Pacific at 52%. As we said, an awful lot more details are in the report, but we just wanted to give really a snapshot here today, Carlos, to sort of back up your announcement of the results, really.
Well, James, if I may add something, gamification is something we see across the board being one of the most important new thing in sport, right? I mean, so these results basically confirm what we see also in other sports. And sorry, Carlos, and then back to you for the conclusion.
Thank you, James and Marco. We're very happy, as I said at the beginning. We were very excited about this project to be able to listen to our fans so closely, and the conclusions that we take are definitely very positive. You know, some surprises. I think for us, we were very surprised and very happy to see the number of avid fans that the results have returned to us. Incredible to see that 82% of the fans have watched more than 15 races in every season, and that over 40% of them have attended a race in the last 5 years. I think if we compare those to the other motorsport properties that Nielsen and Motorsport have worked with, we're incredibly proud to see those numbers. And then one of the other conclusions that we take is that the fans that come, they love the sport and they stay and they follow closely. And I think it's something that we've always known about our fans. And we speak to our promoters and the circuits that all the fans that come here every weekend to watch the races, they're a fan which is knowledgeable about the sport, knows the rankings, knows who won the last race. So we're very happy there. And as well as to see that, you know, the female fan is a growing one, a young one. You know, they're very in touch with the sport. They have heroes. And so we have a lot of potential there also. And as you know, we've been driving a big sustainability project together with the manufacturers and the motorcycle industry. The motorcycle is an incredible method of transport which provides you know, a very affordable mean of transport for billions of people around the globe. And MotoGP is going to be the testing laboratory for that method, for that transport to be as sustainable as possible. And the fans feel and agree with us that it's one of our most important projects. And just to finalize, of course, you know, both Motorsport Network and Nielsen agree. The challenge here is to monitor the changes that we're making to the sport, to see how the fans react to them and how we keep this loyal audience that we already have, our knowledgeable fan that has been in touch with the sport for such a long time, to keep them happy whilst we look for a more dynamic format to be able to attract a new generation of fans.
Okay, thank you so much to all of you. Now we will take questions, beginning in the room.
Yeah, hi, Adam Wheeler. A question for Carlos. I mean, Dorna obviously are doing all they can to grow the sport all the time. I mean, that's your job as a promoter, but seeing the statistic of 66% of fans feel that more could be done, would that mean maybe some new ideas or new projects in the future? Maybe say the way Dorna have their social media policy. I mean, is there anything new coming up, or will there be a new committee or something working on this?
Well, honestly, it's not a let's say a factor that has, you know, come unsurprised. And you were obviously at the announcement last GP where we've announced a huge change, probably the biggest change in the sporting format of the championship ever. And this is definitely going to help. There will be more changes coming up, and we will hopefully be able to announce those soon. The change in the format of the sporting format of the championship is a part of a broader change to the championship, where we definitely want to make our riders, our heroes, our teams more available to both the fans at home, the fans at the circuit, and media. So yes, it's something that we're definitely working on.
Maddie Scotia, Motorcycle Sports. 2 questions. First, for all of you, can we expect more data to come in the future at the back of events such as Net Promoter Scores, anything that happens on site at the event? Can we expect this data to grow? And secondly, for you, Carlos, I think the question is, we understand that sprint races, for example, are giving you more inventory, it's giving you more to sell to customers. To Adam's point, in terms of inventory, what else can we actually expect? You've said there are changes in terms of getting new fans. What's your first point that you have to fix first to get new fans into this sport?
Okay, so
You go.
thank you. I understand the first question is asking if we're going to have more data regarding surveys and questions directed at the events itself and presence at the events. There was not really a lot of questions directed at events in particular in the survey. It was a global survey about the championship. you will have seen the data, and you will have seen that there's questions about fans' priorities when going to events such as vantage points, music, etc., and you will have seen those on the report. Nothing, let's say, completely out of the ordinary there. And yes, we intend to, there was also, sorry, questions about preference for prices, etc. So useful data for us to distribute to our circuits. Of course, when you look at prices for tickets, you have to take into account that it's a very global survey. So, of course, prices in Southeast Asia will be very different to those in Europe or America, okay? And this is very, very useful information for the promoters, and we will, yes, continue to question our fans in more detail about you know, their assistance to the GPs. And towards the second question, as to what you can expect, I think that, you know, the new schedule and the new format, it's a compromise between all factors. We were speaking before the press conference that us as a championship, we're very, very happy, and our broadcasters, our circuits, and our partners agree that, you know, for us, having 3 world-class races on a Sunday, which start at 11 and end at 3, is a huge asset to the championship. And that's why we think that keeping, you know, 2 runner-up series like Moto3 and Moto2 is hugely important. And the survey shows that our fans want to continue having such a strong feeder series. Having that, of course, makes us having to make compromises on the schedule to make room for everything. And the new schedule will prove to you that, you know, the riders will be able to be more available. We will make for more time for them at specific and important times of the weekend for them to be available for the fans, etc. And more opportunities to make a bigger show with the heroes, which are the MotoGP class riders, at the most important times of the weekend.
Paolo Ianieri, Gazzetta dello Sport. How much have you been influenced by this survey to make the change with the introduction of the sprint race? Because from what I know, it was decided somehow quickly during the summer break, and then you spoke to the teams in Silverstone. So were you influenced a lot by the fans asking for the sprint race?
To be honest, I would have found it very surprising that fans at home do not like the new format. It definitely, if you look back in history, every time that there's been a race that's been restarted or for any reason has been shortened, always the message on all the broadcasters to all the, you know, hardcore fans of motorsport has been, everybody buckle up, there's a sprint race coming. So it would be very surprising to us as Dorna that fans at home do not support the sprint race. It had been a project that we had been working on before the survey was launched, of course. And as you can definitely expect, we have the results from the survey from a while back. So as soon as the results came, we were able to present the new format to the teams and the manufacturers.
So now I think we've got questions from Zoom rather than in the room.
That makes me unmuted, hopefully. Just wanted to ask James, the other surveys that we've done have shown that there's been interest from four-wheel fans, as I call them, into MotoGP. And this survey has shown that there's been interest from MotoGP fans in four-wheel racing. But were the different surveys very different, or, you know, sort of with the same percentage? And I suppose I asked the question that, you know, is there an opportunity for those countries where MotoGP or indeed from other motorsports are not so popular, where there could be some cooperation between the two rights holders?
Well, in terms of other series followed, it won't surprise anyone to learn that World Superbike is obviously high up in terms of the percentages. But when you're talking about four-wheel racing, yes, Formula One is the series that is most followed by fans of MotoGP. And in terms of percentages, I don't have the exact percentage at the top of my head, but I know that slightly higher percentage of MotoGP fans follow Formula One than the other way around. It's about 30% of Formula One fans follow MotoGP. So there's two ways of looking at that, as there is with any data point, but the one I would look at would be that there's a big opportunity in terms of growth potential there for MotoGP from Formula One fans.
If I remember well, James, it was more than 60, right? I mean, MotoGP fan following Formula One, so a decent amount.
Okay, I think those are all of our questions. Last chance for anyone in the room to ask anything. Yep.
Just a question from Paolo Scalera, GP1.com. In the past, in the sport, we have seen a lot of associations, like rider association, sponsor association, race association, and so on. Thanks to the huge work done by Dorna in the last year, we haven't seen any association yet. Do you promote in the future some kind of association, for example, if riders want to have back their association, press or whatsoever, for example, sponsor?
Is it for me or for Carlos?
For anybody want to answer.
Yes, I don't see how it's related to the survey, but yes, we would not have a problem with any of those. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much to everyone for coming, and thank you very much to our speakers and, of course, protagonists of an incredible project with some really incredible data for everyone to have a look through now. So thank you very much, and enjoy Friday afternoon and the rest of the race weekend.